Have you ever been caught in the silence of someone who says they want you but then pulls away? The confusion, the frustration, what's really going on behind that silence? What if I told you there's a deeper psychological truth behind his silence that could change how you see relationships forever? It's something many women miss, but understanding it could unlock an entirely new perspective. Men and women experience and express emotions differently. But here's the shocking part. The way a man processes emotions, especially intense ones like desire and love, is not what you might think. Have you ever felt the sting of silence from someone who claims to want you? That frustrating moment when you know he craves you, but instead of drawing closer, he pulls away? It's confusing, isn't it? Even painful. You're left wondering, what's going on? Why does he pull back when everything seems so perfect? But what if I told you there's a deeper psychological truth behind his silence? One that could completely change the way you see relationships forever. Stay with me, because the answer might just shock you. Men and women, it turns out, are fundamentally different in how we process emotions. And to truly understand what's happening in these moments, we have to start by recognizing this crucial difference. You see, women are naturally more expressive. They're more inclined to talk about their feelings, to share, and to seek connection. And that's not a weakness. It's actually a profound strength. But men, particularly those who've spent their lives conditioned by the demands of competence, success, and control, often struggle with emotional expression in ways women don't. Now, when a man truly craves a woman when he desires her, not in a fleeting, superficial way, but in a deep, almost primal way, something strange happens. He doesn't necessarily move toward her. Instead of acting on those feelings, he might pull back. He might fall silent. This is where so many women misinterpret what's actually happening. The immediate assumption that he must not care enough. That his silence is a form of neglect or disinterest. But that's not always the case. In many instances, what's happening is far more complex. Men have spent their entire lives being taught, explicitly or implicitly, that emotions are dangerous. They're told that emotions get in the way of logic, control, and success. A man who becomes too emotionally involved too quickly can feel like he's losing control not just of his emotions, but of himself, his stability, his identity. For a man, control isn't just about keeping his emotions in check, it's about maintaining his sense of self. If he's spent years constructing a world where his emotions are compartmentalized, neatly tucked away so they don't interfere with his ambitions, responsibilities, or sense of autonomy, then suddenly experiencing overwhelming desire for a woman can feel completely destabilizing. And this is where withdrawal comes in. His silence, it's not necessarily a lack of care. It's often a response to inner turmoil. It's his attempt to regain balance, to process what he's feeling in a way that doesn't make him feel vulnerable or weak. He's not withdrawing because he doesn't care. He's withdrawing because he's trying to understand what he's feeling, to make sense of the emotions that are starting to overwhelm him. So, what does this mean for you? How can you understand and navigate this behavior? Let's dive deeper into the psychology behind it and why this silence might be more than you think. Now, as we delve deeper into this, it's crucial to understand this simple truth. Men, particularly strong, intelligent, and competent men, do not like feeling vulnerable. They don't like feeling exposed, emotionally raw, or as though someone else holds too much power over their inner world. When that happens, what does he do? He retreats. This retreat isn't necessarily permanent, but it's often a temporary measure. He goes quiet, he pulls away, and he may even appear distant or indifferent. And here's where many relationships falter, not because he doesn't care, but because his silence gets misinterpreted as apathy. The woman, feeling neglected, starts chasing. She demands answers, reassurance, clarity. But here's the catch. The more she chases, the more he retreats. Why? Because it's no longer just about his emotions. Now, it's about the pressure of needing to explain something he may not fully understand himself. And this is a vital layer to comprehend. Men, especially those who are competent and self-reliant, are deeply tied to their sense of purpose. Their self-worth often isn't measured by how much love they can give, but by how much they can achieve and the value they can provide to the world. So, when a man meets a woman he truly desires, someone who stirs something deep within him, he doesn't just feel attraction, he feels the weight of responsibility. He starts asking himself, can I provide for her? Can I be the man she needs? Am I strong enough to handle this? If he's uncertain, or if he feels inadequate in any way, his instinct won't be to talk through those fears. Instead, he retreats. He withdraws until he can find answers. This is why it's so important for women to realize that a man's silence is not always a verdict on his feelings. Sometimes it's simply his way of processing emotions he doesn't yet have the words for. It's part of his journey of coming to terms with what he wants and whether he's ready for it. And here's the paradox: if a woman reacts to his silence with neediness, panic, or attempts to force a response, she may unintentionally push him further away. But if she does the opposite, if she stays grounded, secure in herself, and unbothered by his temporary retreat, something fascinating happens. His fear diminishes, his respect for her deepens. And instead of running, he finds himself drawn back to her not because he's obliged to, but because he genuinely admires her. Men don't want to be needed in a desperate way. What they desire is to feel respected and wanted in a way that acknowledges their autonomy. They want to come toward you not because you demand it, but because they choose it. And when a woman embodies this self-assurance, that quiet confidence, the less likely his silence will make her feel insecure. Instead, it will become just a temporary pause, one that, if handled with grace and understanding, can lead to something even stronger. So what does this mean for you? How can you navigate this dynamic and turn his silence into an opportunity for growth? Let's explore this further and see how this shift in perspective can transform how you approach relationships. As we continue exploring the complexities of emotional dynamics, it's important to understand the deep-rooted fears men face when it comes to vulnerability. Men have a primal fear of being vulnerable. This is not something they choose, but something ingrained in them over the years, over decades, and often throughout their entire lives. The world constantly tells men to be strong, to be competent, to be in control, and vulnerability threatens all of that. It's seen as weakness, something to be exploited, and it has the potential to unravel everything they've worked so hard to build. So, when a man craves a woman not just physically, but emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, he's confronted with an emotional precipice he's never fully prepared for. A man's deepest instinct is to protect himself from pain. Not just physical pain, but emotional devastation, psychological exposure. The kind of suffering that can shake the very core of his identity. Because when a man allows himself to deeply care for a woman, he is no longer just an independent entity. He becomes tied to something beyond himself. And for many men, this is terrifying. Why? Because it introduces the potential for loss. It means the possibility of rejection, inadequacy, and failure. This is why so many men struggle with expressing emotion 7 when they feel them intensely. From childhood, they've been taught that emotional expression is dangerous, that it makes them weak, less masculine, and less in control. So instead of embracing those emotions, they suppress them. They bury them beneath layers of logic, distraction, and yes, silence. But what happens when a man meets a woman who completely shatters his emotional equilibrium? A woman who isn't just another fleeting attraction, but someone who ignites something real, something profound, something undeniable. He craves her, he desires her. Yet, at the same time, he resists. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. He knows that if he allows himself to fully dive into this, he's opening himself up to a level of vulnerability he may not be prepared for. So he hesitates. He pulls back. He might even go silent not because he wants to, but because he doesn't know what else to do. This is where the paradox of desire and fear collides. The more he craves a woman, the more he fears losing himself in that craving. The more he wants to be close, the more he fights against the part of himself that tells him that closeness is dangerous. And this internal battle often results in behavior that confuses women the most. His hesitation, his withdrawal, his silent sesh sees it as indifference, but in reality, his form of self-preservation. It's a desperate attempt to reconcile his longing with his fear. What's fascinating, though, is that most men won't even recognize this fear. They won't admit to themselves that they're afraid of vulnerability. They may never say, "I'm afraid to be vulnerable," because admitting that would mean facing the very thing they're trying to avoid. As we dive deeper into the complexities of emotional dynamics, it's crucial to understand how men respond to vulnerability. We saw how men may hesitate, pull back, or even go silent when they experience deep feelings, but what's truly fascinating is the reasoning behind these behaviors. Men are conditioned from a young age to avoid vulnerability at all costs, and when they do experience powerful emotions, it can feel like they're losing something essential about themselves. This fear isn't just about emotional exposure. It's rooted in something much deeper: responsibility. When a man truly loves a woman, when he envisions a future with her, he feels a tremendous weight on his shoulders. It's not just about wanting to be with her, he wants to be worthy of her. He wants to feel strong enough, capable enough, and successful enough to meet her expectations. And if there's even the slightest doubt in his mind, if he feels insecure about whether he can be the kind of man she deserves, that fear begins to manifest. It shows up as distance, as silence, as avoidance. A man would rather pull away than risk being seen as inadequate. He'd prefer to retreat into himself, not because he doesn't care, but because he's terrified of disappointing her. If he's struggling internally, whether it's with his career, finances, or his mental state, he may feel that getting too close to her would expose all the cracks he's trying so desperately to hide. And this is why so many women feel frustrated when men seem emotionally unavailable. They wonder, if he likes me, why doesn't he just say it? If he wants me, why doesn't he act on it? But what women often don't realize is that for many men, acknowledging their feelings isn't the hardest part. The hard part is believing that they're strong enough to handle them, that they're capable of carrying the weight of love without losing themselves in the process. So, they hesitate. They stay silent, not because they don't care, but because caring means exposing themselves to the possibility of pain, rejection, and failure. This is a risk that many men have spent their entire lives trying to avoid. It's fascinating how human psychology works, especially when it comes to relationships. Most people assume that if someone wants something deeply, if they truly desire it, they will move toward it, they'll chase it, claim it, make it theirs. But that's not always how it works. In fact, sometimes the more a person craves something, the more they resist it. The more they crave closeness, the more they create distance. So when a man is deeply drawn to a woman, when he finds himself craving her in a way that unsettles him, he may instinctively pull back. He may go silent. He may create space not because he doesn't want her, but because he wants her so much that it forces him into a state of uncertainty. This is the key to understanding his behavior. The instinct to retreat is not always a rejection. Sometimes it's just his way of processing feelings he's not ready to confront. But if this space is respected, it might just bring them closer. As we continue exploring the intricacies of relationships, let's take a deeper look at how distance and reaction can affect the dynamics. We've established that when a man pulls back, it's not necessarily because of disinterest. Often, it's a subconscious, tested, ingrained behavior that many people don't even realize. When a man starts to feel something profound for a woman, something that threatens his usual sense of independence, his first instinct might not be to lean in, but to step back and see what happens. He wants to test the water stove, gauge her response. But this is where things get tricky. If he pulls away and the woman immediately panics if she starts chasing, demanding answers, or trying to close the gap he's created, his perception changes. Suddenly, he no longer feels the pull of desire. Instead, he starts feeling pressure. and pressure kills attraction faster than almost anything else. Men simply do not respond well to pressure in relationships. They don't want to feel trapped, obligated, or controlled. They want to feel like their presence is a choice, driven by genuine desire, not expectation. So when a man creates distance, even subconsciously, and the woman reacts with desperation or fear, it disrupts the dynamic. The attraction fades because the balance has shifted. But if the opposite happens, if he pulls away and she remains steady, if she continues living her life as if nothing has fundamentally changed, then something shifts within him. He starts to feel the weight of that distance. He begins to wonder why she isn't reacting the way he expected. And this is where curiosity kicks in. He starts to realize that she is not dependent on his presence. This realization reignites the very attraction that initially drew him to her. This dynamic is deeply rooted in psychology. We desire what feels slightly out of reach. The moment something becomes too available, too easy, we take it for granted. It's not a conscious decision, it's how our brains work. We assign value to things that require effort. In relationships, this plays out over and over again. A man who is truly drawn to a woman doesn't want her to crumble the moment he steps back. He doesn't want her to fall apart or beg for his attention. He doesn't want her happiness to be contingent on his every move. That isn't attractive. That isn't the energy that pulls him in. What truly draws him back, what makes him come back stronger, more certain, and more committed, is realizing that she is whole, with or without him. She wants him, but she doesn't need him. This is where most people get it wrong. They think love is about constant closeness, about never letting go, about making sure the other person is always there, always available, always reassuring. But that's not love. True love is about knowing that both individuals are strong on their own, yet they choose to share their lives together. And once you understand this dynamic, you'll begin to see how the balance of attraction shifts. As we explore the deeper dynamics of relationships, let's reflect on the importance of space and why attraction thrives when there's no pressure. It's crucial to understand that dependence can erode respect and real connection requires balance. This means knowing when to give each other space, understanding that true desire thrives in the absence of pressure, and that attraction is often fueled by mystery. When you realize that your partner is not an extension of you, but an independent person with their own passions, desires, and sense of self, that's when true desire deepens. This applies to both men and women. If you want to keep someone's desire alive, you cannot suffocate it. You can't chase it, demand it, or force it into existence. Instead, you must let it breathe. Imagine this, letting the other person feel what life is like without you. Only when they experience your absence can they truly understand the value of your presence. This is exactly what a man does, even if he doesn't realize it. When he creates distance, it's not just about avoiding you. He's trying to feel the weight of his emotions, to regain control over his inner world. He's testing whether the attraction remains even when he steps back, to see if it's strong enough to draw him back naturally, without obligation. Now, if a woman understands this, if she doesn't panic, if she doesn't chase him but remains steady, confident, and unshaken, she passes the test without even knowing it. And in doing so, she becomes even more desirable because she's playing a game, but because she demonstrates self-respect. This is the true secret to being irresistible: self-respect. One of the most common mistakes people make in relationships is tying their sense of worth to how someone else treats them. They wait for validation, for reassurance, for someone to tell them they are lovable, valuable, or desirable. But when you do this, you hand over the most important thing you should protect: your own self-worth. This is a dangerous psychological trap. Once your sense of worth becomes dependent on someone else's approval, you lose control over your own life. You become reactive, desperate, and start chasing after people not because they are good for you, but because you believe their attention defines you. This is the fastest way to destroy not only attraction, but also your own identity. Both men and women fall into this trap, but it shows up differently. For example, a woman might feel a deep connection with a man. She might see his potential and feel intensely drawn to him. But when he pulls away, when he goes silent, when he doesn't show up the way she expects, she starts questioning herself. She might think, did I do something wrong? Am I not enough? Instead of understanding that his actions reflect his own fears, struggles, or his inability to process emotions, she makes it about herself. She starts thinking, if only I were better, if only I were more attractive, if only I could prove myself, then he would come back. But that's not the key. The key is understanding that his actions are about him, not a reflection of her worth. And as she learns this, the relationship dynamic can begin to shift. So, how do you protect your own worth without getting lost in the uncertainty of another's actions? Stay grounded, focus on your own growth, and never lose sight of the person you are becoming. Reflecting on the importance of self-worth, let's dive deeper into why confidence is such an irresistible quality. You see, many people make the mistake of thinking that someone else determines their worth, that their value depends on how others treat them. But that is a fundamentally flawed way of thinking. Your worth is not something up for negotiation. It is not dependent on whether someone texts you back or whether you're prioritized in their life. Your worth is intrinsic. It exists independent of external validation. Once you internalize this truth, everything shifts. The moment you stop letting others dictate how you feel about yourself, you begin to walk through the world differently. Your energy changes. People start responding to you differently. More importantly, the way you allow yourself to be treated transforms. This is the true power of confidence. Confidence isn't about arrogance or pretending to have it all together. Confidence is the external expression of self-respect. It signals to the world that you no longer need to seek permission to be valued. You don't need to be chosen to feel complete. When you embrace this mindset, you don't chase. You don't try too hard. You simply exist in a way that commands respect. People are drawn to this kind of energy because they don't want to be with someone who depends on them to feel whole. No one wants to be the source of another person's sense of worth. They want to be with someone who is already whole, and someone who is whole is strong and free. And freedom in relationships is intoxicating. It's what makes someone irreplaceable. Here's why freedom matters so much. If you don't need someone to feel complete, it signals something profound to the other person. They know deep down that you are with them because you choose to be. Not because you fear being alone, not because you need their validation, but because you genuinely value them as a person. And that is what makes relationships work. Now, let's explore why authentic connections thrive on this very foundation of independence and self-worth. So, we've explored together the key elements that help build a lasting and deep relationship, from understanding your own worth to the confidence that doesn't need external validation. But are you truly ready to step out of your comfort zone and create authentic connections? Remember, how you love yourself determines how you are loved. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos in this series. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm eager to hear your story. And remember, we'll meet again in the next video, where I'll continue sharing secrets to help you create relationships that are not only lasting, but truly meaningful. See you in the next video.